Hi there and welcome back to the History of Fleetwood Mac. I'm Anita. Today we're going to get into episode 5 of volume 14 of my Stevie Nicks Fleetwood Mac Scrapbook. We ended with time space, so we're going to dip our toes a little bit into 25 years of Fleetwood Mac, and I do mean a little bit. Some of this stuff is probably going to pop up in other times. 92, 93 gets a little weird other than Out of the Cradle before it kind of gets right into Street Angel. But, you know, there's kind of just like a hodgepodge of Fleetwood Mac stuff. This was a nice magazine full-page ad for 25 years, and then a photo of the band. It was just, I think, something out of somebody's scrapbook. And my clever penguins. I don't know. I should start having judge this at the end of the videos. Tell me if this is a new page or an old page. Clearly an ancient page with the generic stickers and red tissue paper in the background. You did what you did in 97, to make it look fancy. So that's that. It's cute, right? It's cute. Moving on, this was kind of funny. I was starting to get into my pages with presidential stuff, and I knew that I didn't have a lot of I had a lot, but the pages were already made, and then I was coming across more stuff, and they didn't quite have enough. So I was kind of trying to find places to squeeze pieces in. And one thing down here, there was a piece that was about the president gala, and then I found this later, which was a Rumors Convention sticker, but this article is about the Rumors Convention, which I thought was really cool, which was put on by none other than George Kane, who I bring up a lot. So George is, that would have been so cool. And that was in Austin. And the article is from August 20th, 1992, but I'm not sure when the party was. Obviously somewhere close to that, I'm going to guess. Admission was $85 for the weekend, including dinner on Friday and Saturday, which wasn't terrible. And $5 for the trade show. But, back then still, that was probably a lot of money, especially getting out there. But let me know if you went to that. I've heard a lot of wonderful things. I also have a poster of this. And like I said, George was just an amazing guy who had some amazing photos. So I'm really thankful to have all that. Then this was, again, probably an article from a magazine. And funny enough, it's got that background that was kind of indicating to me. It's kind of like, you can't really see it, but it's kind of like crisscross, like mesh from Behind the Mask. Older article about the girls leaving. So I think that this was after the book and after the Behind the Mask. So this might be kind of accurate-ish time-wise. Then we get right into the presidential stuff. And actually, I'm really blessed with some of the presidential things. This is one of my first babies here. And this is yet another one of those unusual prints that aren't a fax. They aren't a press kit. They're on thinner paper. They're always kind of brown like this. They almost always have this thing. And there's a special name that I constantly say every time I come across one. I'm like, I'm going to find out what that is. I don't. So just go with it. But a really great photo of Stevie and Lindsay, which is not otherwise really in wide circulation or anything like that. But I really love having this particular piece. And this was an original thing. Thinking about tomorrow, Fleetwood Mac performs during the American Gala Monday evening at the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland. The performance is a public rehearsal for Tuesday night's presidential gala. From left are John McVie, Stevie Nicks, Lindsey Buckingham on drums, and Mick Fleetwood. So it doesn't show Chris, which is unfortunate. And then this, I think, is a while later. I think this is afterwards, just mostly because of how different Stevie looks. But then all little articles pertaining to Fleetwood Mac being part of the thing. I think this was from a magazine. This was the page. I had all this other stuff. So this is kind of what got cut out in lieu of the Rumors Convention. This is a really cool button that I don't own, but this is a really nice big picture of it. This pops up on eBay periodically. Not terribly expensive, just something I haven't come across, haven't gotten yet. You're more likely to find it. Actually, if you do a search in Clinton inauguration stuff, you can find some really good Fleetwood Mac stuff there sometimes, because people will mention it. Maybe not so much in the title, but in the description. So I've seen a couple things pop up there that won't show up in like Fleetwood Mac or Stevie Nicks because it will be under President Clinton. And of course, there's other people involved. It wasn't just Fleetwood Mac, so that's also why. Then this kind of outtake where she's got her little cup. So I'm definitely thinking during rehearsals. Everybody backstage kind of prepping again with the cup. So these pictures were all acquired from a girl in Germany, a big collector in Germany, who I believe had the negatives to all these. So this page was kind of recently put together. It's pretty bland, and the reason being, and I have to just spark this up. This is a really neat article. Just if you're a music buff in general, and just mixing music with politics. Funny enough, when I was in high school, I really enjoy writing. I liked writing. I don't write so much anymore, but I'd done a piece, which was one of my better pieces in English classes, comparing movies and actresses with mixing with politics, and just out of that interest, just kind of bringing Hollywood into it, because so many people are like, when an artist talks about something, they don't want them to be a mouthpiece. They want them to just be quiet. We go to a show for entertainment, stuff like that. And I really do get that. I absolutely get that. But if that person personally believes and speaks with it, about it otherwise, that's they're absolutely entitled to their opinion, and they are also in a platform and a space to discuss these things. But I think at a show, I don't want to hear about it. I do kind of appreciate that. If you say something to the cast, to the audience, like everybody go vote, totally different. But even certain presidents who I will not name, but it's blatantly obvious that I'm not a big fan of, when things are said about them on stage and stuff like that, it's just not professional. I went there to hear about the show, and even though I agree, I really just want a show. But anyway, coming back to this was a cool article about, again, what it says, Democrats and a lot of people getting music in. The article starts with Fleetwood Mac, and then a funny little tidbit here is that it barely mentions Fleetwood Mac otherwise, but it does say that Kerry spokesman Steve, we're good about them. In Clinton's case, it was the candidate himself who chose Fleetwood Mac's Don't Stop Thinking About Tomorrow, according to advisor Greer. Bill Clinton, were talking in an elevator during the National Governors Conference in Seattle last August. Greer recounted, and Bill said he'd been talking a few days before with a kid in LA. I think it was his driver. And this kid said he'd always thought that Don't Stop was a really strong song with a message that we ought to be thinking about our futures instead of our past. And then Bill started singing it in the elevator. He knows all the words, and I said, that's great, we ought to use it. It fits in with this whole theme of the American dream. And then pretty much stopped talking about Fleetwood Mac. But anyway, it's just a cool article in general, talking again about mixing, which again, I'm also hitting this with. I thought it was great, of course, with Clinton because it was Fleetwood Mac, but there are other times. It's kind of like when you watch commercials, like, if you're not really invested in a certain product or something like that, do you want to hear Fleetwood Mac material? And I understand they all sold their catalog, so you're SOL about that if you want to hear it or not. But it kind of takes away from the band when it becomes more, again, in this case, when that song became very political, and it kind of takes away from a song when, like Landslide, when it's being used to talk about selling cars or something. Just me. So, but that was a cool little tidbit, and this was a really neat article that somebody had Xeroxed from me years ago, which is just kind of a cool capture of just getting that little piece, even that little bit about Bill Clinton and how he came up with Don't Stop, and other people who came up with music to go along. So going on, we have, let's see, actually, no, that's out of place. And then, so going with these pages here are some more of the band. I think Stevie looks so pretty. I know that she's not fond of this night, and she looks kind of crazy-eyed right there, but she looked beautiful. What's going on here? Oh, man. Damn it. Son of a beehive. I'll explain in a second. And more of those here. everybody looked really happy. I mean, this was kind of a, it's a double whammy of a time. It was, the first time they'd all been together after Mick's book, after the girls had left the band. So coming together even just for a little bit. And of course, they wouldn't reconvene, obviously, until 1997 as a band to make music. But yeah, and that was the last time too, if you think about it, that, I've mentioned many a time that they came together at all. I mean, that was the last Fleetwood Mac Rumors 5 collaboration. It was in 97, so. So I was talking about, kind of being short of things to make this page, right? And then finding other things, and it's still kind of bland. While on the other side of this page was this really cool mix of stuff, and this is my second most cherished item from this time. This is a really, really cool promo picture at night. I've never seen it up on eBay. I'm sure it's out there. I don't know if it's from a press kit. This was my friend's, and it's mine now. She doesn't know that, but it's been mine. It's been in my book for years, and she doesn't. But a great photo, and a great, original promo photo. And then you can just barely see her here in this picture. And then this little newspaper article. Which, what is it about Fleetwood Mac there? Just Fleetwood Mac at the Clinton Gala, singing a Don't Stop, that the whole band was there. That's about it. But what was right in front of that was this piece. So I thought that's where it went. So here's another loose piece that could have made the page. This was cool because you could just see Stevie right there. She almost doesn't look like herself. Just a newspaper print. Lady Gaga? No, I'm just kidding. Who is that? Who the heck that is? But yeah, it looks like it. So yeah, that sucks because that, I could have made that into the page properly. And then I think I'm wrapping up with this page right here, which kind of starts to go into Lindsay's time. But again, him having been with the thing. And then this was in a one of those magazines. It's in British pounds, and they wanted 15,000 British pounds. I mean, come on, bite me. And this was recently-ish, but it was a range of items celebrating President Bill Clinton's inaugural gala, where a reformed Fleetwood Mac played in 1993. The packaging includes a photograph of the band performing on the night, a signed dedication and personal note of thanks from the president, a VIP ticket, a 20-track CD with specially produced sleeve, a commemorative Fleetwood Mac t-shirt, a series of passes issued to the artists who appeared on the night, so that's 6 items, a 28-page program, 7, another booklet on the gala event itself, tickets for follow-up reception, personal news clippings, reviews of the event, maybe it is good, reviews of the event from the band's tour manager, John Courage, a cartoon signed by the artist, and 3 additional signed cartoon proofs. But 15,000 gold British pounds, and what is that in I would have liked to have seen everything that was there. I would really like to see a program. I would imagine Fleetwood Mac is in that. I wish I could also see this photo up closer, but you can barely make it out. So they show, it looks like the photo goes possibly with the tickets and the note, but then passes issued to the artists who appeared on the night. I don't know if it would have had my name, a 28-page program, and another booklet on the gala event itself. Tickets for a follow-up. So very little of this would have had Fleetwood Mac on it. Fleetwood Mac is involved, but not Fleetwood Mac on it, I would think, anyway. But it would be really nice if even more had been shown in the photo, just to also kind of know what you're looking for. And then this, we're coming back here, which is mentioned here, and I guess it is just here, again, about Stevie Nicks with IRS troubles. And this was in Time magazine. with that awful. Now, I also didn't know if I had done any page on the other side of the mirror or time space, and I don't think I did, but I had. Maybe I'll go. I did have these, which were prints. I don't know. Somebody had like done the background out of them. Oh, sorry, that's wrong one here. There's that one. There's these. I think I might have done this in another video. They're all the same night, just different wigs, different outfits. Now, although it looks like Rock a Little, it's just the Rock a Little cape, obviously. But it's definitely from this. And I want to say it's still Paul Cox, but I could be mistaken. I think there is one more that I'll show. I'll show the article. There's a 1994, this one too. And this kind of goes with that black-haired one I'd shown in the past. This goes with an article that I'll be showing for the 1994 piece. I'm pretty sure it's 1994 and not 1991, where this was used in Vox magazine. And I may have discussed it in my magazines, but I'm not too sure. And I don't care. I'll bring it up again. But anyway, all these shots go with this one, matches up here. That same shoot where she'd done all these. So, and then another, I think this is a Xerox out of another newspaper. A funny little tidbit here. Singer Stevie Nicks warns Fleetwood Mac fans to not expect very many more reunions like the one the group staged for President Clinton's inauguration. I have no desire for any further active involvement, she says, while describing the Washington appearance as a magical moment for all of us and surely the pinnacle of Fleetwood Mac's career. And that was January 29th, 1993, that she mentioned that. I mean, there's been plenty of signs, for Pete's sake. I mean, every time she talks about, not wanting to work, and with Lindsay, whatever. I'm a big Lindsay fan, and so I'm. There's two sides to it all. But she's been saying that for a long time, and I just think that happens. I don't think that there's anything necessarily toxic about him or her, to be that honest with you. I just think they can't work together after so many years, and they just both build up to each other's crescendo, and then they're just like, nope, out of here. And I definitely think around 1993, that was the time, because everything was really nice and everything worked out in 1997. Everything worked out, was really nice in 2000, per se you will. And I just think they can. I just think in small increments, not an ongoing, So anyway, that's the end of it. There's no picture of her. I mean, it's just at the gala. I don't even think she can even be seen in the background. Checker, is that Chubby Checker there? Not Chubby Checker. Who the heck is that? Anyway, that's it for the gala. So yeah, some good, a lot of photos. I'm so bummed out about this one. So now I'm going to have to redo that page and see if I can make some more room. I'm sure I could totally rearrange this one and somehow get it in there or something. I have another one coming up in the 90s, I think 91 or 94, and I have 92. It's Stevie Nicks in 1992, and I have this one big picture, and then I have another picture that goes with it, and I just had it here on the table, and I can't find it anywhere, and so I can't make the page. So we're gonna, that's where we're already past 92 now, so I can't show it to you. So it'll be one of those ones that pop up another time, but it drives me absolutely nuts. And that's what happens when you have this box here that just is still sitting here looking at me, laughing at me. Thank you so much for joining me. Sorry about my little tangents. It's been a week. It's going to be an interesting new coming week, and maybe I'll go into a little further. Try not to bore you with personal stuff, but I just try and make light of things and keep it all nice and happy. So thank you for joining me. Everybody have a great night. We'll see you next time. Bye.